which block? Either in the block.
Mandacholi. Done the U-turn. She has entered the campus. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honourable Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, has arrived. I request you all to please rise and welcome her with a big round of applause. Thank you. I request you all to please rise for the Tamil Thai Varthu, followed by our national song, Vande Mataram.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் மதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரிதனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே. வந்தே மாதரம் வந்தே மாதரம் சுஜலாம் சுஃபலாம் மலயஜ ஷீதலாம் சஸ்யஷ்யாமலாம் மாதரம் வந்தே மாதரம் शुभ्रज्योत्स्नां पुलकितयामिनीं फुल्लकुसुमितद्रुमदलशोभिनीं सुहासिनीं सुमधुरभाषिनीं सुखदां वरदां मातरं वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम्.
Thank you. Please take your seats. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Vasudha Narasimhan, Vice President Corporate Relations and CSR at IIT Madras, and I will be your host for this afternoon. For creating socially impactful innovation, academia and industry need to align. And it is in this context that IIT Madras held a conclave for industry partners themed CSR towards technologies for a better tomorrow. We are honored and delighted that the Honourable Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, has presided over the valedictory session of the conclave. I would now like to request Mr. Kaviraj Nair, CEO of the Office of Institutional Advancement at IIT Madras, to make a welcome address.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for IIT Madras' CSR Conclave. On behalf of IIT Madras, I extend a warm welcome to one and all here. And with great pride and a deep sense of gratitude, I welcome our chief guest, Honourable Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, to this event. Thank you so much, ma'am, for finding time for us on a Sunday in spite of your busy schedule during this Parliament session, and that means a lot to us. Warm welcome to our Director, Professor Kamakoti, Dean Professor Mahesh Panjaknulla, and the distinguished audience. In particular, I would like to call out all our corporate partners who have wholeheartedly supported our research initiatives through their CSR programs. Warm welcome to the faculty members of IIT Madras here who carry out exemplary research to our students who are the future technocrats and leaders and all others present here. The theme this year has been Technology for All. And today, we had a series of events in the morning, including visits to our research centers, panel discussions on relevant topics, etc. We have been championing at IIT Madras the concept of tech-enabled social transformation for the last few years. While IIT Madras' core focus area is science and technology, its research is never detached from society, and all research has to benefit mankind some way or the other. We have been fortunate to have some of the best brains in the country working in this institute, and with all humility, we recognize our responsibility towards the society and our role in nation building. Any scalable model has to be tech-enabled, and that's where IIT Madras can play a very crucial role. We have more than 55,000 alumni who are all stalwarts in their respective fields and who are working in different organizations. And by leveraging their expertise, we hope to make a positive impact in our society. Without much ado, I welcome you all to this event and invite you to be part of IIT Madras family in whichever way, whichever capacity you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaviraj. I would now request Professor Mahesh Panchagnula, Dean Alumni and Corporate Relations, to address the gathering on CSR at IIT Madras.
The Honourable Finance Minister and Minister for Corporate Affairs, the Government of India, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, Director of IIT Madras, Professor Kamakoti, my colleague in the Development Office, Kaviraj Nair, all of our distinguished guests from the industry at large who have come here today, assembled here today from all across the country, heads of CSR of, I'm told, at least 40 plus companies that are here today that have been here all day for a lively discussion on this topic, and all my fellow colleagues, students, and several alumni of IIT Madras that are here today. Welcome to all of you to this wonderful valedictory session of this day-long event. I would like to join Kavi in expressing our deep sense of gratitude to Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji for making time during a very busy winter parliament schedule and her busy schedule which coincides with this time when the budget is getting prepared, to make time for us to come address us on this very important topic, CSR towards technologies for a better tomorrow. In this broader space of CSR spend in India, technology spend occupies a very, very crucial and important position. Just to wrap some numbers around this, the annual CSR spend in India today is upwards of 25,000 crores. The biggest fraction of that spend goes towards education. And the definition of education, as the spend dictates, has been primarily in the primary and secondary education space. It's a very important space for a growing country like India, a very young country like India. Having said that, the way technology spend can enable many other options in India is something to be discussed and deliberated about. Technology in education, technology in healthcare, technology in delivering good governance to the last person in the country, technology to enable a good livelihood for people across the country, technology to enable a safe and secure living environment, technology to enable a good home for everyone, are all as important a need as every other need that CSR is being focused on today. We have been in this space of trying to get the message out that a rupee invested in technology development and research today would yield benefits manyfold in the years to come. We firmly believe and are passionate about seeing an increase in the overall research spend in the country as a fraction of our GDP. We are passionate to see that research be focused on delivering a better life for every citizen of this country. We are keen to see that research done in the labs of IITs actually makes a difference for everyone in this country. And we invite all our corporate partners to be our fellow journey people in this journey as we take India to an even greater height enabled by your CSR decisions. I want to close my remarks by leaving a couple of thoughts in front of you. There are a lot of spends that are enabled in the CSR Act, and it is up to the boards of each of your companies to decide which part of that enabled spend vertical appeals to your heart. And I would like to position technology development and CSR spend on technology development as cutting across all of the different verticals, all of the different possibilities that the CSR Act opens up for us. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Honourable Minister, who in September 2019 made an explicit mention of this over a significant part of one of our press conferences, where she deliberated on the need for companies to focus their research, their CSR spend on the last mile research, especially at institutions like IITs and other centrally funded institutions where research is our mainstay during the day. I think as we move forward, as we look to an aspirational India in 2047, we envision an India where technology has provided a better life for everybody. And for that to happen, the fraction of the money that we spend on research has to go up. And it cannot just be the government through the DSTs, through the DBTs of the world doing their part. Every one of our corporate citizens in this country, through their boards, have to step up and say, here is a way by which I will work with the government to make a better life for everyone. You are empowered to make those decisions. Please use that power in a direction that will make a difference to everybody in India by the use of technology. Thank you very much, and we look forward to the Minister's remarks.
Thank you, Professor Mahesh, for stressing the importance of research and technology. I now invite our beloved Director, Professor V. Kamakoti, to please deliver his address.
Honourable Finance Minister of India, Nirmala Sitharaman ji, friends, and our distinguished corporate partners who have been along with us in a long journey of the CSR for years now. As Mahesh mentioned, I will now give some case studies, very interesting case studies of how the CSR fund is being utilized for the benefit of all, and some of the very interesting projects that IIT Madras has taken on in the last few years. So this gives you an idea to your board of how effectively the CSR can be deployed for the benefit of all. So IIT Madras has been concentrating on IIT Madras for all. This is our new motto, where we would like to reach as many people as possible, give a technology-based solution to them to solve their day-to-day problems, and also on many issues, societal needs that needs careful consideration and concern. And that has been our major focus over the years. So the modes of engagement, we have now started something called the Rural Technology Centers and the Rural Interaction Centers. We have a BS online program, and we also have a lot of Center of Excellence which are looking at deep technology problems, deep technology areas like artificial intelligence, energy consortium, and the like. And we have also a lot more of research projects which are directly benefiting the society to solve some of the very, very intricate problems. And we also are now very much into facilitating equal access to education and skilling, by which we have a direct benefit to all the deserving students who need education, who need reskilling, and also a very bright introduction, very clear introduction to technology. This is Pravartak Kasha Rural Technology Centers. We have set up around 5 centers now, which actually in the village, it provides an opportunity for people to come and experiment their ideas. We strongly believe that the people who are in the field will have more ideas towards finding a solution for their day-to-day problems. And so we enable them on not only on computerized education, but we also enable them on robotics education. We also enable them on embedded systems. We also talk about design system level thinking. And these are some of the things that are happening. We have 5 centers to start with. In the last 6 months, we have set up these centers, and we would like to expand it to around 100 centers in the days to come. The next attempt that we have taken is the Rural Interaction Centers. Currently, we have around 50 rural interaction centers where we have set up a nice television along with an internet connection. And every day between 6 to 8 p.m., that some volunteer network actually logs into the system and start interacting with the kids. This is extremely important for us to see that our gross enrollment ratio becomes higher, and also that rural kids specifically are enthused to take up higher education. We have seen very good results. As such, we would like to we are planning to go up to 100 centers by the end of this financial year. So these are some photos of these centers. Next. We thank all the key donors. Next slide, please. And this is the map in Tamil Nadu. We have experimented in Tamil Nadu. We would like to grow to 1,000 centers within India in the coming years. Next. So, keeping in pace with the national education policy, we have introduced this IIT BS program in data science and application. This is IIT Education for All. There is no cap on the number of seats. There is no age limit. We have students from age of 17 to age of 82 who have joined this program. They have to clear a qualifying examination for this. And we have a good gender ratio. 25% of them are female, 20% of them are employed. And around 16,000 students have joined this program now. And it has multiple exits. At the end of the first year, they can get a diploma, they can get a certificate. At the end of the second year, they get a diploma. At the end of the third year, they get a BSc degree. End of fourth year, they get a BS degree. And this essentially has brought in people from multiple disciplines to come and join this program. People who are employed, people who are taking it as a full-time course, and also people who want to reskill themselves. So this is completely aligned with what an ideal education that is envisaged by the national education policy. And so this is, and lot of CSR fund is coming here for giving scholarship to the students. We fund for any student who has a family income of less than 1 lakh. We completely pay the fees through the CSR. And for any girl child with family income less than 5 lakhs, again, we completely support their tuition fees. I'm also very happy to inform that we took 200 corporation school children from Tamil Nadu, and more than 87 of them have cleared, and they have got admitted into this course. At the end of 4 years, they become IIT Madras alumnus. Next. These are some of the other important projects, the Kotak IIT Madras Save Energy Mission, where we are touching MSMEs who cannot actually afford to make a power audit. And this is a network of around 30 assessment centers spread across IITs and NITs, funded by Kotak CSR, which will go and do an energy audit. And we finally envisage around 720 crores of annual savings. Not only that, this will have a major impact in the carbon footprint. And overall, we expect that at the end of this particular CSR, we have 1,000 crore of saving from energy. We are also partnering with the SSS, the solar power, safe drinking water and sanitation, in 600 households benefited in villages in Nagapattinam with the help of CPCL. Next. The Robert Bosch Center for Data Science and AI, we are looking at some of the advanced AI topics, including responsible AI. And we have more than 27 faculty members from 11 departments working with many hundreds of research scholars working on the most advanced aspect of artificial intelligence, and it is funded by Bosch under its CSR. The next project is the Bhashini project, which is going to be a big answer to the very important question of education in their mother tongue, which we feel that it's going to be the best way of educating a kid. Now this AI for Bharat is finally going to become a software which can translate from English into or any language into any other language, and we are targeting the official languages of our country, and this is going to be the basic foundation for bringing in multilingual education. So we record the video in English, and then we actually do a speech-to-speech conversion so that the final delivery can be in any of the official languages of our country. And this is funded by EgStep under their CSR. And we also have an International Center for Clean Water, which is looking at arsenic-free potable waters. So India has a variety of water resources, but with their own challenges. And this is going to give us a clear way by which we can bring in potable water from these resources. Then on the high impact area, quantum computing, Emphasis has come out with the Emphasis Quantum Computing Center. And from TTK, we have a very interesting, very important CSR project, which is actually a center for rehabilitation research and device development, where we have made a standing chair, we have made an artificial leg, which is basically touching the life of the physically challenged. And then from the NSC Foundation, we have the HOMOSEP, which is the septic tank cleaner. Manual scavenging is something which should be completely eradicated, and we now have a robo which is very effective in cleaning septic tanks, and it is now in the stage of commercialization, and we believe in the years to come we can completely eradicate manual scavenging from the country. And then a lot more of facilitating equal access to education and skilling. The merit cum means scholarship for STEM education, scholarship for the NPTEL and BS data science. And we also have a very vibrant carbon zero challenge in which thousands of participants actually enroll, and we select around 25 projects, and this has been going on for years. And we have a lot of donors who have been helping us with this very important activity. Next. So, gentlemen, these are some of the projects that we have taken up under the CSR, and this will give you hopefully this will give you an idea of how the CSR fund is utilized in educational institutions in the country. It will also give you an idea to the board of which projects that you can pitch for. And we look forward to very active collaboration between the industry partners and the academic institutions to take the CSR fund and make a better big impact in India as we march on to the Amrit Kaal, the next 25 years, as we move to the 100 years of independence. Thank you very much for coming today, and again a very hearty welcome to IIT Madras campus.
Thank you, Professor Kamakoti. It's now a moment we are all waiting for. It's my privilege and honor to request the Chief Guest, Honourable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ji, to address the gathering.
Good evening, and thank you very much, IIT Madras, for giving me an opportunity to talk on a topic on which earlier I had a bit of a hesitation, saying innovation, technologies, and you're also asking me to talk on a CSR. That's because I think I've gotten into the government. And it immediately sort of makes my antenna go up, saying, does it mean that there's some kind of a unstated expectation that CSR funds be made available? They are already available for innovation, but the association with government, I think, quickly trains you to have your antennas go up the moment you have these kind of words put before you. And also I'm doubly alert also because it's budget time, you're preparing, are you going to say things which you should or you shouldn't? So a bit of hesitation, but I thought it's also a good opportunity for me to understand what IIT Madras is talking about, and also the fact that it is a session where industry, academia, and students are all together. No better place to talk about these sort of things, so I did come. Now, many of what I wanted to state as my observation are being already addressed in some way or the other. But still, there are things which I think I'll take this opportunity, because I have a captive audience before me, to say about how technology is already playing a big role in our lives. But how are we going to take it forward further, especially? And I'll start with, I was very impressed personally when Honourable Prime Minister stood on Red Fort and said, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, which is what all of us have heard from Lal Bahadur Shastri ji's time. Then earlier there was an addition made, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan, but this time it was Jai Anusandhan. And that's where I thought that has a direct implication to that grey area, which is not actually grey, but in public perception to a large extent it is grey. The transfer of what you find in labs to daily life, the technology transfer that can have an impact on daily lives. It's happening. But it's somewhat like those pet themes which never go away. The theme that there's so much happening in science, so much happening in the labs, so much that probably is happening in, making lives easier because of the way in which a scientist feels about it, and that it can have an impact on common man, whether it's Einstein, whether it's anybody else. Even as they are landing on that eureka moment, they do realize what it's going to be like for the common man. But when a Prime Minister says, Jai Anusandhan, it's also a question of how this country respects innovation. And innovation then also, which has to be looked at about how to scale it up, how to produce it so that it can commercially be of some value. So in that context, I thought I'll take this opportunity to speak about how government is placing a lot of emphasis. And are there areas repeatedly the same haranguing problems for India, which harangue us even today, whether it's a question. And when I say harangue, I'm not saying it in a very, in a cynical way. I'm saying harangue because we need solutions. We want such solutions which can actually address the issue which is festering the country, which is the reason for us to believe that unless we clear that, we have no moral authority to move on something else. Like for instance, oft-repeated example that I will take, unless you completely eliminate poverty, you have no business to go into space. There are some people who believe such things, but that going into space and using the technologies can also help in expediting the alleviation of poverty. Is something which communication alone can help us. We have to repeatedly convince people that it is worth spending, it is worth spending science time on it. Mindset, being very scientific, also looks at human problems. So when you're doing all this, you realize that the government has the role in between the two to make sure that innovation which you support, innovation which you actually want so desperately, when it happens, it should also immediately have that bridge which can convert it into some kind of a technology which can help the common people. And that's where the support of the government comes in, and that's where the CSR comes in, and that's where, for instance, if we were to copy some experiences, standing here having heard Kamakoti speak about it, I would be falling into a little trap saying, oh, the minister is looking only for Western example, she doesn't look for Indian. But I'm just recalling it for the benefit of us, our thought processes. I'm sure a lot of institutions in India, inclusive IIT Madras, which has shown this presentation here before me, is also doing it. There's just no doubt about it. But I just want to recall those examples only because of the kind of outcomes they've had, and only because of the kind of, what can I say, the corporate academia plus the government all coming together and being able to make a big difference. A difference which lasts a century, a difference which beyond a century impacts our daily lives. And therefore there, an element of the CSR and how the government has approached the issue of CSR in order to favor this, partnership between corporate world, academia, and the government, which eventually touches the lives of common man. So if I have to take the example, the things which come to my mind are things which I'm sure you do your tea time talk with. If MIT was able to be the facilitator of the first, let's say, practical desktop computer, or if it were to be the first example of facilitate artificial heart transplant, it didn't just happen because MIT gave a scientist one room to think about it. There was a lot of corporate support which came in. And that corporate support came in, of course, with a commercial interest. But when that happened, it gave such a relief to the humanity. And similarly, there are also examples which one can take up. There are also examples like, how did Google come out? Wasn't it in Stanford that the pair of Larry Page and Sergey Brin, I think, both of who had the facilitation given by Stanford, as a result of which you find Google. And one other example for the MIT is the GPS, Global Positioning System. How does it today touch every one of our lives? But that was as a result of MIT, corporate world, all of them working together, and such far-reaching impact these discoveries, innovations have had. That's the kind of corporate world partnership with academia which can have a far-reaching impact on our lives, which the government is trying to facilitate by having announced a policy and by having funded R&D through the government departments. For instance, DST alone, I think the number was mentioned here, only through the IITs and the R&D through the IITs, 27,000 crores is what I've got as a number to quote. Only through the IITs it has happened. And the same DST for non-IIT but institutions across the country has spent 53,000 crores just to enable and facilitate innovations which could be of help and there bring the corporate sector also to make sure you're working together. So I'm here underlining the importance of corporate world, close engagement with academia, facilitating through their funds. Sometimes it used to be, again, the Western examples, it used to be that you fund my project, my requirement, and that's the R&D for which I give money. But here I can see IIT Madras taking up such funds, corporate social responsibility funds from various companies for those which are directly going to help. For instance, that one which is a stand-up wheelchair that you talked about. These are going to impact every citizen directly, immediately. And from my childhood, I've heard how Rand Corporation, post the Second World War, funded exclusively by all the corporate sector, has been the cause for 32 Nobel laureates. Some of them doing economics, some of them also in other STEM areas. But Rand became a big name for research, big name for R&D. I'm sure I'm talking, basics to you all, but I'm just quoting it as an example. So if these are the kind of results or outcomes that we see because of corporate involvement in academia, it is something which we have to take forward. And again, I'm going by another example, if I remember correct. University of California, Berkeley. Computer sciences, material sciences, biotechnology. Wonderful innovations have come out only because they've been corporate funded. The first, I think, all-purpose computer came out of them. More than about 11 new materials, elements have been discovered there. And for biotechnology, the CRISPR genetic identification, that formulation was coming out of there purely because of the Biotechnology Center, which was funded by corporates. So now the question is, corporate social responsibility, meaning corporates and their profit, post-profit, some amount, which is 2% by Indian law, being given for such research, is bearing substantial outcomes. It's showing substantial outcomes. And therefore, that should continue, and that should really be the way to go forward. I would think Indian government policy has also helped in moving forward on these. I know IIT Madras is one of the very highly awarded place as Institute of Excellence for patent filings, intellectual property awards for 21, 22 also, for year 2021 and 2022 as well. Just want to highlight how, with an enabling policy environment, patent filing can be expedited. And unless it is expedited, those who are filing patents, whose core business is to look after their work, research, cannot be spending time running after the patent office, say, please get my patent cleared faster. Just see if the government's policy has helped it or not. I just want to place two facts before you. In 2016, when startups policy was announced, a lot of enabling policy were brought in, so that if startups were to want to file for patents, we will give them assistance, and so on. Much before I go to the details of how much is being given, I want to say the number of days it took for you to get your patent cleared in 2016 was 72 months. In 2016, you applied today for a patent, you had to wait for 72 months. Whereas what it is today, in December, today meaning December 2020, that's the last data I have before me, it is that 72 months has come down to 12 months, and in some cases, it's up to 24 months. We are trying to bring that down even further. And domestic filing of patents, of course, the numbers have gone up. A total of 58,502 patents were filed in 2021, while 28,391 were granted in the same period earlier. 14.2 lakh trademark registrations were made in 4 years beginning 2016. So 16 to 20, you have 14.2 lakh patents, trademark registrations. And this number, I want to tell you, is astonishing for me, because since after 1940 till 2015, approximately some 75 years, only 11 lakh trademarks were registered in India. For 75 years, you've had only 11 lakh trademark registrations, whereas just in 4 years between 2016 to 2020, 14.2 lakh trademarks have been registered. So the people are also coming forward. People who are coming up with bright innovations are coming up saying, I need to register this, and registering process is not cumbersome. So all this adds to this enthusiasm of, I need to go get it registered. And once you've registered it, there is the possibility to commercialize it and therefore benefit from it. So I'm so happy to say that this is happening. Now, I also mentioned that in 2016, when the startup policy was announced, we also came up with understanding that there's a difficulty about the costs in filing patents and so on. I remember startups are provided with 80% rebate in the filing charges when you're filing for patents. So only the statutory fee, which is something very small, will the startup be expected to pay, because that is their skin in the game. But otherwise, the total cost, 80%, we give a rebate from the government. We strongly believe, and Prime Minister Modi repeatedly says, that he wants India to be an IP superpower. So intellectual property superpower we want to be, because we want to be respected for creating a knowledge-based society. And that's not new. India has always paid a premium centuries for obtaining knowledge. Knowledge has always been valued in our country. They would always say, no, there is a lot of trading and other things on which India invests a lot. Small-time businesses also want to be trading into their products, and there's nothing more beyond it. No, that's not true. India has always invested in knowledge, and this government from 2014 has continuously seen how we can encourage India to become a knowledge-based society, knowledge center, and therefore now to build on it, to say we want it to be an IP powerhouse, intellectual property powerhouse, is only consistent, and keeping that basic principle go around. I heard a couple of expressions on R&D money. Now, figures, of course, can be better. I just want to highlight the fact that the gross expenditure on R&D as a percentage of the GDP is less than 1%. It's 0.7%. And this has maintained and hovered around this 0.7% for over a decade now. There's no hiding the fact. And this is certainly lower than Brazil, which spends about 1.16% of its gross expenditure to the GDP, and South Africa at 0.83. Only Mexico, and I'm not looking at a lower example to comfort myself, but I'm quoting it, only Mexico is spending about 0.31% of their GDP on R&D. However, to the credit of our scientists, I must say that the money spent on R&D is one thing. It can be better, I repeat. But India has published more research papers than many of our at-par countries, or EME, emerging market countries, and even much more than Russia, much more than Brazil, much more than South Korea. So there are immense potential there. You're seeing them in the research papers, no wonder. And also the policy impulses which have been given by the government has shown a difference, in that when you were in the 81st spot in 2015 on the Global Innovation Index, now there are so many of them coming, all kinds of indexes. But I'm quoting the Global Innovation Index. We were in the 81st spot in 2015, and in 2022, we've reached the 40th place, which is much better, and remarkably within 5-6 years to cut down on the 40 rank layer. One thing I am very proud of and very glad for Government of India to have taken this position is that we are funding and also becoming an enabler in citizen-centric services. Is this an abstract that I'm talking about? No, it's not. Citizen-centric services, which is a key factor which explains the rise of public digital platforms. What are the public digital platforms which have actually been citizen-centric? The CoWIN portal, which was during the pandemic biggest asset that we created for ourselves. Many countries envy India for it. We were able to show track and show our vaccination progress. So you had one round of vaccination, anyone or any elder in your house also had it in his phone. he didn't have to wonder or recall 6 months later, which one did I take, AstraZeneca or Bharat Biotech? He would just go show his phone, and the doctor, even if he is going to a different hospital later, would know, the nurse would know that he has had from the data which is available in CoWIN, and no crossing of the vaccination happened, even by mistake, because it was all there in your phone. Similarly, it was all there in your phone when you went out of the country, you could show. And this famous quotation, which I never fail to say, from Modi at 20 years book, where Jai Shankar, the foreign minister, has written his piece and his experience in 20 years of working with Modi, not so much 20 years as minister, but even as being an ambassador. He said he and his son were traveling together. His son is, I think, a citizen of a different country. The son had to pull up from his pocket sheaves of paper to say, which one is this? My certificate for having been vaccinated. Whereas Jai Shankar would just say, this is it, and showed his phone, which had the entire history of where he was vaccinated, had he been given 2 doses or even the booster dose. So the contrast between a developed country and an India, which maximized its use for public good by creating a technology platform which could tell you the history of every Indian citizen as to where he is, and this for free. It was a public good. And we are happy to say that the government has been repeatedly telling many nations if they would want to use it, they're welcome to use it, and therefore countries which cannot invest in creating the technology are happy to have it. Similarly, the ONDC, the Open Network for Digital Commerce, is also something which is going to benefit a lot of small MSMEs which need to have that platform to be on it and be able to access all kinds of market. Again, a public good. So ONDC, OSEN, that is for the credit extensions that you want to do. Again, a public platform. Any number of small single owner also can use that and benefit from accessing credit. And GST Sahay is again something which helps the small and medium industries. Through the portal, they are able to get many of the GST problems sorted out. And I'm extremely happy to say, as much as in GST, even the faceless for income tax, assessment, survey, appeal, everything, settlement is done now through technology. There is no need for you to go and visit any of the IT officers, or you don't need to fear them coming into your house. Unless, of course, for last 10 years, your pending claims are being so pursued and you have not replied, or you have a serious case, then of course enforcements do happen. But everything is now completely with public investment in it, made into a technology-driven process. So there is transparency, there is speed. Today we have had the money, direct tax figures coming out, and one of the first lines which said is that this is the number of refunds that we've already given. So speedy refund are all possible because government has invested in creating those platforms through which we are able to have ease of operation. But more importantly, those are public common goods. Otherwise, each one of us spending on research and also then translating it into your own technology would have been immensely burdensome for many of the small companies. The approach, therefore, of government, which will be very important for both corporate and for the academia to recognize, is earlier the attempts by policymakers has been to scale up what works so that the country or the public at large will benefit. Whereas the approach now is what works at scale, give it the best traction, give it the best attention, give it the best investment. So you know that creating a platform which has the massive entire across the board public connect, it will benefit all. It is already scaled up, so then invest in it and make sure that it reaches everybody. So that the spillover from it can benefit small businesses which don't each have to reinvent the wheel for themselves. So with that kind of an approach, you also have created a patent box regime. And that's to encourage companies to locate high value jobs associated with development of a particular, technology, or manufacture it, or exploitation of patents in India. So that is almost like a regime which is on its own. We have introduced concessional taxation regime for income from patents. So you don't pay the same rates. You have a patent, you're earning out of it, you pay far lesser. So it helps to register your patents. I certainly also have said about patent developed and registered in India, earned by an eligible taxpayer, will be subject only to 10% rate, irrespective of whatever your applicable rate is otherwise. I'm also happy to say we have created almost 25 Section 8 companies in IITs. One of it is located here. And because of that, you're able to promote non-profit way of better technology and innovation. So that is Government of India's own attempt to be in the right place to promote R&D. And I remember 2 budgets ago, I had announced a quantum technology mission. That mission on quantum technologies is worth 1 billion, and it's in a big way underway, is in the pipeline, and I like to see that India competes with large big players on it, and this would be a game-changing opportunity for an India which wants to be a IP powerhouse. The 3 areas in which I can always, and even as it is, see a lot of ripples which are being created are the geospatial systems area, drone policy area, and also the space sector area, which is now unlocked for everybody to operate. That is why you saw the first satellite funded by 4 user ministries. Because government as a whole approach now, not just the money given to space, Ministry of Space, Department of Space alone spends its money, but other departments which benefit from what they do have all pulled in their monies to say we want something going into the space which will help me better plan for my agriculture, better plan for me for my water resources, better plan even on disaster management, and so on. So this RISAT, I think it's called RISAT 1A, Research Satellite 1A, is funded by 4 user ministries: Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Ministry of Home Affairs, and of course Department of Space. So we expect to have, it is a first of the kind in Indian space programs, and the data that we obtain from this satellite, which is going up because of these 4 ministries, will have an impact on agriculture, will have an impact on disaster management, and will have an impact on the Jal Shakti ministry, where groundwater is getting depleted now. So the government has invested in that. But I think one of you all did refer to how scientists should give back to the society. So of late, CSR is being talked about as much as scientific social responsibility, SSR. And I think the DST has come up with the guidelines for it sometime in May 2022. And that's going to be also of great importance, because I think it derives essentially from the Constitution of India, which says all Indian citizens should have and should work to have scientific temper. And with that, it is also an opportunity for us to give back to the society on some kind of a moral and ethical obligation principle, I would think. Now come to the CSR. The Companies Act of 2013 itself moved from the earlier regulatory mindset towards a trust-based mindset, and also towards a disclosure-based mindset. CSR came under it as one of it, and therefore they're also under Schedule 7 within that act. This principle of trust and disclosure guided them to take a portion of their profit, which is 2%, and spend it for public good. So today, if I want to give you data, in the last 7 years, that is between 15 to 2020, 2021, Indian companies have spent more than 1.25 lakh crores towards CSR. That's not a small amount. The act gets actually implemented only from 2014. But since then to today, meaning 21, 22, 2020, 2021, within the first 7 years, Indian companies have definitely come up with 1.25 lakh crores spent on CSR head. And largely, as you said it rightly, education, health are the main areas in which they've spent this money. Approximately 46,870 crores have gone for education-related activities, and approximately 221 crores have gone on incubators. Further, the last 3 years, more than 1,100 crores have gone towards the aspirational districts. I hope all of you are familiar with aspirational district idea. Even in developed states within India, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Haryana, even in those states, some districts remain so backward that the overall growth of India gets pulled down by them. So, Prime Minister, with a team of officers, secretaries, identified those districts, irrespective of which district they are located in, all over the country, 115 districts based on important 7 or 8 parameters were identified as districts. Didn't call them backward, although the parameters indicated certain level of backwardness, called them as aspirational districts because they need to aspire to improve and perform better. And many of them are actually coming out the level of aspiration with which they went in. Some of the northeast states are doing extremely well in coming completely out of it. In Assam, in fact, Honourable PM referred to one of the district administrator, a lady officer, I think, who worked in such a way that that district not only came out of the list of aspirational district, but also became one of those exemplary districts which had almost saturated on all government schemes. But she used technology to measure the performance and so on. So aspirational districts had more than 1,100 crores in the last 7 years as CSR. So at the moment, Government of India allows CSR funds to go through institutions like IITs, government-funded PSUs, government-funded PSUs also in the state governments and so on. So CSR to me is not just a compliance. We've told the companies to spend the money. We are expecting them to spend 2% after their profit is announced for such social causes, and if they complied, everything is done and finished. No. That CSR, beyond being a compliance matter, has a direct impact on the society. Look at the kind of examples you showed. It's going to change lives for many millions of people. And therefore, CSR is not just a compliance for companies, it's going to change the way in which India is going to develop, particularly now with the Sustainable Development Goals. We are very close to the deadline in meeting Sustainable Development Goals. And even more, as was referred, Amrit Kal is when we have to do rapidly a lot more innovations, so that by the time 2047, India becomes a developed country. India becomes better for our own children and grandchildren. They don't need to see an India of scarcity, which we all have faced in different times and different types, whether it was for food products, ration of rice or sugar. Today we export rice and sugar. Milk was such a luxurious items for many of the real poor sections of society. Today India is the largest producer of milk. Like that, we've moved because of the ways in which we brought in technology, brought in systems which can help produce more for our people. We don't want to overexploit them. But at the same time, it is time for all the companies who have done splendidly well in the last 7 years. As I said about the numbers, the areas in which they've spent. More needs to be done. More needs to be done by centers like IIT Madras. I do remember the time when I came for the 3D house launch. A fascinating idea. It will build affordable houses for millions of people who need to get it. So like that, for India to cut across traditional boundaries of knowledge or departments or specialized domains, we need to have looking across sectors and making sure solutions come, the innovations transferred to technology, technologies get scaled up, and they are ultimately used for all our benefit. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. It is very useful and very timely for us to talk about this. For the next 25 years, all of us, you, government, and also the companies will have to work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your most insightful and inspiring talk. I'm sure members of industry and academia are equally inspired by how far we have come and the need to do so much more in the Amrit Kal. We will now move to the next phase of the program for the evening. We are very honored to request the Honourable Finance Minister to help inaugurate a few exemplary collaborative partnerships that we have had with corporates for social good. I invite Professor Mahesh Panchagnula to the podium to present the details, starting with the National Center for Precision Medicine and Cancer with Karkinos Healthcare.
It's an honor to have the Honourable Finance Minister inaugurate a few of our large efforts. I'd like to invite the team from Karkinos as well as my colleagues from the Biotech Department to come up on stage, please. The National Center for Precision Medicine and Cancer was funded by Karkinos. It's a stellar example of industry-academia collaboration to make a difference in a very difficult disease to conquer. And the philosophy that is being adopted here is that cancer can only be treated in a personalized fashion. And IIT Madras will be the hub of the center with spokes in several locations in Kochi, Guwahati and Mumbai. And it will promote research in a whole range of areas that are of relevance to cancer care. I'll invite the team from Karkinos, Venkat, as well as Professor Mahalingam and Muttalagu to come on stage, please. We'll have the Madam. We'll move on to the next inauguration. Next slide. We're going to inaugurate the CAMS IIT Madras FinTech Innovation Lab. We all know CAMS is one of the best known companies for financial technology in India. We're proud to call the founder one of our alumni. And CAMS is come forth to set up an innovation lab in the space of FinTech to improve inclusivity in the formal sector. I'll invite the team from CAMS to come on stage, please, as well as my colleague, Professor Tenmuri. We're also, the last inauguration we have is one that we are very proud of, a product of IIT Madras. One of our faculty, Professor Raghunathan Rangaswamy, has written a book on data science for engineers. As we all know, data science is a very, very timely and important topic. And this is the world's first book that we know of on data science written in a language for engineers. Raghu.
We now move on to an interesting part of this evening. We now have a town hall with the Honourable Finance Minister. This is an interactive session between members of industry, faculty, and students of IIT Madras, where the Finance Minister will take up some questions from the audience. We are honored to have with us Shri Ganapati Ramchandran, who will moderate this session for us. I invite him to the stage. He is a graduate of IIT Madras, batch of 1977, and has many credentials to his credit. So I now request. Does he have a mic? Okay. Mic is.
Finance Minister, Director Professor Kamakoti, who's taken high quality education to much more people than what all of us have done in the last 75 years. It's an honor to be here as an alumnus. Good friend Mahesh and Ravi, and distinguished gathering. 2 days ago, I was at the AGM of FICCI, arguably one of India's most powerful industry voice, where the Honourable Finance Minister said that the recession in Europe can be an opportunity